So imagine walking up to an airline check-in counter. You know, you're exhausted before your vacation has even really started.
Oh, yeah. The worst feeling.
Right. And then you realize that the socks and the shirts and the swimsuits inside your suitcase are, well, they're currently experiencing surge pricing.
Yep.
I mean, it's like calling an Uber in a massive rainstorm, except it's your luggage. And the airline's algorithm has just decided that today, your bag is a premium commodity.
Which is wild.
It is. But if you are planning literally any travel this year, I mean, it's April 2026 right now, that is the exact reality you're about to face.
Yeah, it really is a profound shift. We are looking at this new landscape where the fundamental physics of flying, weight, space, time is all being just ruthlessly monetized.
Completely monetized.
Exactly. I mean, the era of simply buying a ticket and assuming your suitcase just comes along for the ride without some complex financial transaction, that is definitively over.
Okay, let's unpack this, because our mission for today's deep dive is to decode the absolute latest 2026 airline policy updates and all the travel industry pricing data we have.
Right, the stuff that just dropped.
Exactly. We are looking at the massive industry-wide baggage fee hikes that hit major U.S. airlines literally this month. I mean, flying right now feels less like buying a service and more like, I don't know, navigating a high-stakes obstacle course designed by algorithmic economists.
That's a great way to put it.
Because every forgotten click on a website or every single inch of fabric hanging out of a luggage sizer, it comes with a severe financial penalty now.
And that obstacle course requires a map,
Yeah.
Because if you aren't paying close attention to the mechanics of how these airlines are pricing their cargo space, well, the extra fees will completely wipe out any discount you thought you found on your airfare.
So let's start with the sheer scale of what just happened. I was looking over the baseline numbers, and across the board, the cost to check a standard piece of luggage has jumped by $10.
Oh, flat $10, yeah.
Right. So for domestic flights on the major legacy carriers, checking a first bag is now generally $45 if you prepay online.
Or $50 if you wait until you get to the airport.
$50 for one bag. And then a second bag is $55 prepaid or $60 at the airport.
Which is steep.
Very steep. I mean, $10 might not sound catastrophic in isolation, but for a family of four, checking bags both ways, that adds up incredibly fast.
Oh, absolutely.
But what really caught my eye, though, was the timing of it all. It seemed like every single airline woke up on the exact same morning and just decided to raise prices.
Right. Well, the speed of the rollout is actually a textbook example of industry signaling.
Signaling.
Yeah, I mean, within a span of just a few weeks in April, this whole domino chain fell. So JetBlue initiated the sequence in late March.
All right.
And once they tested the waters and saw that the market didn't immediately revolt, United implemented their hikes on April 3rd.
Wow, just days later.
Right. Then Delta moved on April 8th. American Airlines and Southwest synchronized their updates on April 9th.
Unbelievable.
And then Alaska Airlines finalized the industry sweep on April 10th.
So in less than 3 weeks, the entire floor of the market was just raised.
Exactly.
But why now? I mean, are they all just looking at the same spreadsheet?
Well, yeah, they basically are. They're all looking at the exact same operating expense, which is jet fuel.
Ah, right.
The root cause driving this coordinated shift is the recent surge in global jet fuel costs. And that's driven by ongoing geopolitical disruptions.
Oh, okay, I get that.
Because you have to look at how an airline actually operates. Weight directly correlates to fuel consumption. It is a strict physics equation translated into a financial one,
Right, heavier plane, more fuel.
Exactly. The heavier the aircraft, the more thrust is required to keep it in the air, which means the engines burn more fuel. So by raising the price to check a bag, airlines are attempting to achieve two things simultaneously.
Okay, what are they?
First, they are generating new revenue to offset those fuel spikes. And second, they are economically disincentivizing you from bringing heavy bags in the first place.
Oh, so they want you to pack less.
Right, which reduces the overall weight of the aircraft.
I hear that logic, I really do. But I have to push back hard on that premise.
Okay, go for it.
Are airline executives really just using the global fuel market as a convenient smokescreen to permanently raise their baseline fees?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right, because we have seen this exact scenario play out for decades. Fuel prices spike, so the airlines introduce a quote-unquote temporary fee or they raise an existing one.
Yep, seen it 100 times.
But a year later, when the barrel of oil stabilizes and fuel costs drop back down, those baggage fees magically stay exactly where they are.
Yeah, they never drop.
Never. It feels less like a fuel offset and more like a permanent extraction strategy because they know consumers have zero alternatives.
Well, you are identifying what economists call the ratchet effect.
The ratchet effect.
Yeah, it only turns one way. So the geopolitical situation provides the catalyst and the public relations justification for the initial price hike.
Right.
But you are spot on. These ancillary fees almost never roll back. Once implemented, they become permanently baked into the airline's revenue projections.
Which is exactly what we're seeing.
You have to remember that airlines operate on razor-thin margins. So once Wall Street analysts see the quarterly revenue generated by a $50 bag fee, no airline CEO is going to voluntarily reduce it back to $40.
Because Wall Street would punish them.
Exactly. Regardless of what the fuel market does, to drop the fee would mean missing their quarterly earnings targets. So the fuel spike is the excuse, but the permanent revenue stream is the real goal.
So if the overarching strategy is to bake these fees into prominent revenue, how does a company justify abandoning a brand identity built completely around avoiding those fees?
Ah, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, because that brings us to Southwest Airlines. I mean, for as long as I can remember, their entire personality was bags fly free.
Yeah, it was their whole thing.
It was the ultimate trump card in the industry.
What's fascinating here is the collision between legacy branding and modern algorithmic economics.
Okay, break that down.
So for decades, Southwest used bags fly free as a massive loss leader. It was a customer acquisition strategy.
So they took the hit on bags to get people to buy tickets.
Precisely. They calculated that the market share they gained by being the friendly airline outpaced the fee revenue they were leaving on the table. But, well, the math fundamentally broke down over the last 2 years.
Because the cost of carrying that weight finally exceeded the value of the marketing.
Exactly that. They began quietly dismantling that promise back in May 2025, specifically targeting their basic fares.
Right, I remember that starting.
But as of this April 2026 rollout, they have entirely capitulated to the industry standard.
Wow.
Yeah, for basic tickets, Southwest is now charging the exact same $45 for a first bag and $55 for a second bag.
That is just wild to me.
They had to abandon a decades-old core marketing identity just to survive the new economic reality. I mean, market share alone just couldn't subsidize the fuel costs of carrying millions of free bags anymore.
It honestly feels like the fall of an icon. When Southwest starts charging for bags, the era of free travel perks is officially dead and buried.
It really is.
But Southwest just adopted a standard flat fee. Here's where it gets really interesting. JetBlue, on the other hand, seems to be pushing the boundaries of what consumers will tolerate.
Oh, absolutely.
They are essentially turning the cargo hold into a stock market.
JetBlue's approach is the most sophisticated and, honestly, for the traveler, the most complex. They have moved away from flat fees entirely.
Right?
They implemented dynamic, demand-based, algorithmic pricing for luggage, so they segment the calendar into peak and off-peak travel days.
Which means your baggage fee changes depending on the actual date you fly. So under JetBlue's new model, a first checked bag can range anywhere from $39 on, a random Tuesday in October, up to $49 during a holiday rush.
Yep.
And a second bag swings from $59 to $69. That is where I get the Uber analogy. It is literal surge pricing for the cargo hold.
The psychology behind this algorithmic revenue management is brilliant, even if it creates massive friction for you, the traveler.
Definitely creates friction.
Because JetBlue's software analyzes historical booking data, weather patterns, holiday calendars, all of it. It knows that during spring break, the demand for luggage space is going to exceed the physical capacity of the aircraft.
Okay, so it predicts the crunch.
Right. So instead of charging a flat $50 and just running out of space, the algorithm applies surge pricing. It turns your suitcase into a fluctuating commodity.
But the mental friction that adds is just exhausting. You can't just set a travel budget anymore.
No, you can't.
You have to consult JetBlue's peak date calendar, cross-reference it with your itinerary, and then just hope the algorithm doesn't decide your luggage is a premium asset that day. It shifts all the analytical work right onto the customer.
It does, and it introduces a whole new level of anxiety into the booking process.
Yeah.
But, this dynamic pricing isn't the only way airlines are manipulating behavior.
Oh, boy.
What else? Well, if JetBlue is gamifying the cargo hold, we really need to look at what is happening up at the gate.
Okay.
The airlines have created this tiered system where compliance is rewarded with merely high fees, but non-compliance is met with absolute, immediate financial punishment.
All right, let's get into the most dangerous part of this entire obstacle course then. The basic economy trap.
Yes,
Because if you book a basic economy ticket on a carrier like United or JetBlue and you don't read the fine print, you are walking into an incredibly expensive ambush.
without a doubt. Basic economy on those specific carriers restricts you to a personal item only.
So no standard carry-on.
Nothing. We are talking about something that fits completely under the seat in front of you.
Yeah.
A small backpack, a laptop bag, or a purse. No roller bags at all.
Literally no duffel bags in the overhead bin whatsoever.
None.
I see people try to challenge this all the time, though. They buy the cheapest ticket, they strut up to the gate with a full-size carry-on, and they just assume the gate agent will wave them through because the plane is boarding and everyone is in a rush.
And that assumption will now cost you heavily.
Yeah.
The strict enforcement of the standard 22 by 14 by 9-inch carry-on dimensions is the absolute norm across the board in 2026. The agents are watching.
They really are.
The metal luggage sizers are out, and if you are in basic economy trying to board with a roller bag, the penalty is severe. You will be forced to check that bag right there at the gate, and they will hit you with a fee ranging from $65 to $75.
On the spot. $65 to $75 just for making a mistake. Or, well, trying to sneak it by.
Yep.
That feels wildly disproportionate to the actual service of putting a bag in the hold.
Well, it is, because it's a behavioral training tax.
A training tax.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fee is deliberately punitive. The airline doesn't just want to collect your $65 today. They want to make the pain of that transaction so acute, so embarrassing, and so frustrating that next time you book a flight, you remember that pain.
And voluntarily pay the extra $50 to upgrade to a standard economy ticket.
Precisely. They are conditioning you to avoid basic economy entirely unless you are truly traveling with nothing but a backpack.
Okay, I have a theory I want to run by you then.
Sure.
If the gate check fee is about punishing you for breaking the rules and training your behavior, what is the strategy behind charging an absolute fortune for a third checked bag? Because if you look at Delta, United, and American, they just spiked the fee for a third checked bag by $50, bringing it to an eye-watering $200 for a single piece of luggage.
$200, yeah.
So my theory is that they know certain travelers, like people who are moving or maybe traveling internationally for months, they have absolutely no choice. So the airline is just extorting them for a quick $200.
It's a totally logical theory. I get why you'd think that, but it actually completely misreads the airline's operational goals.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The fascinating reality of the $200 third bag fee is that the airline does not actually want your money.
Wait, what?
They actively do not want you to pay that fee.
Wait, a publicly traded company doesn't want $200. How does that work?
They want you to leave the bag at home. Think of the logistics of turning an aircraft around.
Okay.
A plane lands, and the ground crew has maybe 45 minutes to deplane the passengers, clean the cabin, cater the galleys, refuel the wings, and completely unload and reload the cargo hold.
Right, it's a huge rush.
It is a highly choreographed game of Tetris.
Hmm.
The standardized workflow assumes maybe one bag per passenger. So when someone shows up with 3 massive 70-count suitcases, it breaks the workflow.
Ah, I see.
The luggage handlers physically do not have the minutes to process, weigh, and strategically load outlier baggage without risking a delay to the departure time.
And delays cost money.
Exactly. Delaying a multi-million-dollar aircraft costs the airline exponentially more than the $200 they collected from you. So they price the third bag so astronomically high that it acts as a friction barrier.
So you won't even bring it.
Right. It forces you to ship your items via FedEx or just leave them behind, which protects the airline's turnaround time.
That paints a completely different picture. The cargo hold isn't just a bottomless pit, it's a precisely timed logistical puzzle.
Yep.
But if checking a bag is getting this expensive and a third bag is essentially banned by the pricing, what does this mean for the physical space inside the cabin?
Oh, it's chaotic.
Because if checking bags is a luxury, everyone is going to try to cram everything they own into a carry-on.
And you are hitting on the secondary consequence of all these policies right there. The overhead bin has already become a fiercely contested battleground, but these 2026 fee hikes guarantee that the stress during boarding is going to just skyrocket.
Oh, definitely.
Passengers are fiercely territorial over overhead space now because the alternative is handing over $75 at the gate.
Right.
This pricing structure fundamentally alters the atmosphere in the cabin, creating tension between passengers and flight attendants before the plane even pushes back from the gate.
All right, so we have mapped out the minefield. We see how the airlines are using fuel as justification. We understand the algorithmic surge pricing, the behavioral training at the gate, and the logistical Tetris in the cargo hold.
We've covered the bleak stuff, yeah.
So now let's build the playbook. How do you navigate this system and keep your money in your pocket?
Well, the first and most critical tool in the playbook is what we can call the prepayment hack. It is the easiest win available, and it requires nothing more than a little foresight.
Right, so almost every major airline, with Southwest being the outlier due to their flat fee, offers a discount if you simply pay for your bags online or via their app before you arrive at the airport.
Yep, don't wait.
Specifically, if you process that payment at least 24 hours before departure, you instantly save $5 per bag.
Exactly.
So that $50 airport fee drops back down to $45. But surely they aren't giving you $5 just to be nice.
No, definitely not.
What is the mechanism there? Why is your early payment worth $5 to them?
It comes back to the logistics we were just discussing. When you prepay your bag 24 hours in advance, you are feeding critical data into the airline's operational software.
Oh, the weight data.
Yes. The loadmaster now knows the exact weight distribution to expect for that specific flight a full day early. That allows them to calculate the precise center of gravity and finalize the exact fuel order before the aircraft even arrives at the gate.
That is fascinating.
And furthermore, it completely streamlines the lobby experience. You aren't standing at a kiosk for 5 minutes swiping a credit card. You simply scan your boarding pass, print the tag, and drop the bag.
It's just much faster.
You are saving the ground crew time, and time is the most expensive commodity in aviation. They are essentially rebating you $5 for providing data that makes their logistics run smoother.
So the absolute golden rule of 2026 travel, prepay 24 hours in advance, always.
Please.
But what if a traveler wants to bypass these baseline fees entirely? Because that brings us to the loyalty loop.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture of airline economics, these fees are designed to force a decision.
Okay.
The airline is giving you an ultimatum. Either give us your loyalty or give us your cash. They want to lock you into their specific ecosystem so you don't shop around for cheaper fares on competitor websites.
Right.
And the most common vehicle for this is the co-branded credit card.
Like the Delta SkyMiles, Gold American Express, or the United Explorer card.
Precisely. If you hold one of these airline-specific credit cards, the carrier waives the first checked bag fee for the primary cardholder. And critically, they often waive it for multiple companions traveling on the exact same reservation.
That is a huge perk.
It really is. The annual fee for these cards usually sits around $100. So if you take a family of 4 on just one round-trip vacation a year, the math on the baggage fee savings alone justifies the cost of holding the card.
Yeah, it completely neutralizes that $50 baseline hit.
Exactly.
But it requires you to essentially audit your own travel habits. You have to sit down, look at your year, and decide if you fly enough on one specific airline to let them into your wallet.
Exactly. And beyond credit cards, achieving elite status remains the most ironclad way to secure multiple free bags.
If you fly enough to get it.
Right. If you fly enough to become a Delta Medallion, a United Premier, or an Advantage Elite member, the algorithm flags you as a high-value customer. The airlines gladly absorb the cost of your luggage to keep their most profitable passengers happy.
Makes sense.
Similarly, if you are purchasing premium fares, first class, business class, or specific premium economy tickets, the cost of checking a bag is baked into the upfront premium you paid for the ticket.
There is also one crucial exception in all of this data that we really need to highlight.
Oh, yes.
Amidst all these algorithmic price hikes and behavioral penalties, active-duty U.S. military personnel are exempt.
Yep.
They typically receive 3 to 5 free checked bags on most major carriers, regardless of whether they are flying basic economy or first class. It's one of the few areas where the industry has universally maintained a benefit without strings attached.
It is a vital carve-out in an otherwise incredibly rigid system.
So what does this all mean? Let's synthesize everything we've uncovered today. What is the ultimate takeaway for the listener?
Right. Let's wrap it up.
In 2026, travel procrastination comes with a literal price tag. If you wait until you are physically standing at the check-in counter to figure out your luggage situation, you have already lost the game.
You really have. You have to treat packing and baggage as a critical phase of the booking process, not an afterthought on the morning of your flight.
Exactly. Expect a $45 to $50 baseline for your first checked bag. If you are flying JetBlue, check their calendar and watch out for dynamic peak pricing.
Definitely do that.
If you try to save money with a basic economy ticket on United or JetBlue, do not attempt to sneak a roller bag past the gate agent, or you will get hit with a $65 behavioral penalty.
They will catch you.
And above all else, feed the algorithm what it wants. Prepay your luggage 24 hours in advance to secure that $5 operational discount.
Being well informed on these granular under-the-hood mechanics is the difference between starting your vacation feeling relaxed and in control versus standing at a kiosk, swiping your credit card for a massive unexpected charge.
It's the worst way to start a trip.
It is. Knowing how the system works removes the anxiety.
It prevents the airline from ruining the first day of your trip. If you use the playbook we just built, you can navigate the economist's obstacle course without tripping any of the wires.
Absolutely.
But seeing how aggressively airlines are monetizing every conceivable inch of the travel experience leaves me with a somewhat terrifying thought.
Uh-oh. What's that?
Well, if airlines have successfully trained us to accept algorithmic surge pricing for the luggage sitting underneath us in the dark cargo hold, how long is it until that same algorithm comes into the cabin?
Oh, yeah.
How long until we see dynamic pricing for the right to place a bag in the overhead bin?
Or, to push the logic of demand-based pricing to its absolute absurd extreme, how long until we see a credit card swiper on the lavatory door? Complete with a surge multiplier during the final hour of a long cross-country flight when demand is highest.
Oh man, the seatbelt sign goes off, 50 people stand up at once, then the algorithm triples the price of the bathroom.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Let's really hope the airline revenue managers aren't listening to this deep dive. Next time you pack your bags, remember the obstacle course is real, but now you have the map. Safe travels out there.